Hello to all Cinemaster lovers. Hope you enjoy watching. Let's get started. Our movie begins in a city under attack by zombies, known in this film as rotters. The cause of this disaster is unknown. A woman appears running in the street with torn clothes, and the rotters are chasing her. The scene shifts to 4 hours before the incident, in a morgue at Whitendale University. A group of medical students is examining a corpse to determine the cause of its mysterious death. The students are Zoe, Gabby, Peter, Susie, Ronaldo, and Dr. Beeman. After finishing the exam, Zoe immediately heads to the lab to continue her research on blood samples. Dr. Beeman approaches her and asks her to take a blood sample from Max, a patient with extremely high antibodies compared to normal humans. She tells her that this is a good research opportunity for Zoe to complete her graduation project. Later, Zoe goes to see the patient Dr. Beeman mentioned. It becomes clear that Zoe doesn't like Max, who's trying to win her over, but to no avail. In truth, Zoe had already met him before and forced herself to deal with him, but that's because Max's condition is different from others. It turns out that Max has fallen in love with her to the extent of tattooing her name on his arm. In the end, Max tries to harass her, but thankfully Gabby arrives at the last moment and kicks him out. Afterward, Gabby invites Zoe to a party they're hosting at the university to celebrate the end of the term. It turns out they had hidden barrels of beer in the morgue earlier, so they send Peter and Zoe to fetch them. Peter plays a prank on Zoe and scares her. Anyway, after that, he carries the barrel and leaves Zoe behind. As she is about to exit through the door, she is shocked to see Max entering and locking the door. He tries to assault her, but once again, his plan fails because suddenly, the corpse they had been investigating earlier comes to life and attacks Max. When Zoe sees what happened, she quickly escapes, runs to the room where the party is, and tells her friends what she saw. But before they can do anything, they are attacked by Dr. Beeman, who has turned into a zombie. The zombie corpse also storms in, attacking Peter and the rest. Zoe has no choice but to escape through the window. She extends her hand to save her friend Gabby, but unfortunately she can't save her, and the zombies attack her, turning her into one of them too. This incident, of course, was the reason for the zombie attack on the city that we saw at the beginning of the movie. 5 years later, the virus has spread worldwide. The remaining humans live in refugee camps in the mountains. Zoe, now the only surviving doctor, is assigned to a large emergency bunker affiliated with a military monitoring station. She works to find a cure for the virus, assisted by Elise. They had lost contact with other bunkers the previous year, and now they are forced to manage on their own. While working on her research, a mother named Wendy enters, telling her that her daughter Lily has a severe fever that won't go down. When Zoe examines her, she becomes concerned that the antibiotics she gave her aren't working. So Zoe rushes to meet Lieutenant Miguel, the bunker leader, who is in a meeting at the time, to discuss Lily's case of pneumonia. She explains that Lily's condition is critical, and if they don't treat her quickly, she will die. Zoe asks Miguel to allow them to go to the old medical lab at her university to retrieve the necessary antibiotics to treat Lily. But Miguel strongly refuses, as this would endanger his team's lives. Moreover, Zoe's old university is outside the safe zone. However, Zoe insists that the situation is critical and contagious. Thus, Miguel has no choice but to agree to Zoe's plan. The next day, Miguel sends his team, led by Zoe's beloved Baca, along with the rest of the team, Lucy, Franco, and others, to accompany her. The place is dangerous for them to stay too long. As night falls, they start to worry because they still can't fix the car. Within seconds, what they feared happens. The zombies attack them, but Lucy manages to fix the car just in time. When they reach the university, the team splits into 2 groups. They enter the clinic without encountering any problems. They easily retrieve the medications. Even on their way back, there are no difficulties, and everything seems fine. But the calm doesn't last long. Problems arise when Zoe decides to enter her lab to collect some research materials while she's there. Within seconds, zombies attack her. It turns out, Baca and his team hear gunfire and realize Zoe isn't with them. Meanwhile, the rotters are also drawn to the sound of the gunfire. Thankfully, Baca arrives before them. They try to escape the place, but unfortunately, Franco gets tired, forcing them to leave him behind with the zombies. Here, it becomes clear that Zoe, while escaping Max, accidentally dropped her hairpin. They return to the bunker. When Lieutenant Miguel learns of Franco's death, he gets angry and blames Zoe for her plan. Elise also comes to ask about Franco. They argue, unaware of the bigger disaster awaiting them. They had unknowingly brought a zombie to the bunker themselves. Max had been clinging underneath the car all along. He manages to enter their bunker. Later, he sneaks through the ventilation shafts, searching for Zoe's room. He sees Zoe when she's in Lily's room. When she leaves and is walking alone, she is shocked to find Max chasing her in the hallway. Zoe manages to run quickly and activate the emergency alarm. The team rushes to her aid, but unfortunately, Zoe is cornered. However, she is surprised to find that Max doesn't want to bite her. At that moment, the others arrive and shoot at Max. Zoe realizes she can use Max for her experiments and asks her friends to tie him up. When Lieutenant Miguel finds out what happened, he disapproves of their actions and orders them to shoot Max immediately. But Zoe stops him, explaining that this zombie is different, and she proves her point. Later, Elise convinces Miguel to give Zoe a chance to conduct her research. A few days later, Zoe discovers that the zombie Max still has many functioning organs, such as the heart and brain. Zoe tries to take a blood sample, dealing with Max's disgusting behavior. After a while, Baca enters the room. Zoe tells him she found a unique hormone in Max's blood that could stop the virus's spread, potentially serving as a vaccine if it meets the criteria. Because of this, Zoe asks for virus samples to be taken from living zombies to identify the differences. Baca is hesitant about her plan, especially after losing his friend a few days ago. But Zoe persuades him until he finally agrees. They await the chaotic world and begin their secret plan made behind Megan's leader's back. Everything was going fine. Zoe managed to take blood samples, but unfortunately, they couldn't handle the number of routers in front of the gates. As they tried to push through to enter, Elise gets bitten by a zombie. They are also forced to wound Thomas, who was surrounded by numerous zombies. Miguel, furious and enraged, tells Zoe that her plan will kill his team one by one. He then points his gun at Elise, who had been bitten, and kills her immediately. He threatens Zoe, saying he will kill Max within 12 hours no matter what happens. Baca disagrees with Miguel's actions and argues with him, saying that this is a sacrifice they must make for humanity to survive in the future. Miguel tells him he's certain Zoe is hiding something from them, especially when he saw her name on Max's shield. Baca immediately goes to Zoe to ask her about what Miguel said, and also asks if she really can create the vaccine. Zoe tells him that Max is nothing more than a harasser, and that her concerns about him are not entirely right. She admits that if she didn't need Max for her research, she would have killed a man like him. She then continues her research. Alphonse and Lucy enter to calm her down. At that moment, Lucy makes a foolish mistake by approaching Max and insulting him. Max gets angry at her, manages to take the key from Alphonse's pocket while he tries to stop him from attacking Lucy, and no one notices. Afterward, Zoe continues her research and finally confirms that Max's blood can be used to create a vaccine for humans infected with the virus. At this point, Max frees himself and starts choking her, but Zoe manages to spray ammonia liquid from the lab on him and quickly escapes to call her companions. However, when they return to the room, they find Max has disappeared. They sound the emergency alarm again, trying to gather everyone in the shelter in the main hall. Meanwhile, Lily begins to recover after taking Zoe's medication, which she brought from the lab, and becomes able to walk on her own. But unfortunately, she encounters her mother, who has turned into a zombie. Lily tries to escape from her mother, but Max suddenly appears, kills her mother, and kidnaps the child. After some time, Zoe manages to find Lily, whom Max had taken hostage. Max reveals that his goal in all of this is to lure Zoe out. Zoe decides to comply with his demands to save the child. Max then takes Zoe, opens the gates to escape, but the routers attack them. They enter and try to bite Zoe, while Max tries to protect her from them. Miguel and the team arrive, shooting at the routers. Miguel fires a shot at Max, allowing Zoe to escape from him. She runs outside, spotting Lily exiting the gate. Max sees them running and chases after them. Zoe manages to catch Lily, and they hide in the vegetable nursery, but Max finds them after struggling to stay alive. Zoe finally manages to kill him. At this point, the router attacks intensify, and one of them bites Baca. Miguel decides to close the gate because the routers are entering. Baca refuses because he's worried about Zoe and the child. Lily. While they are arguing, a router appears, attacks Miguel, and kills him. But Baca is still able to escape the attack. Elsewhere, Lucy dies at the hands of Alphonse after being bitten by a zombie. In the end, Baca decides to reopen the gate, but he was infected by the virus and began to feel despair. He decides to kill himself. At that moment, Zoe arrives and convinces Baca that she can cure him. Indeed, Zoe manages to treat Baca, making him the first person to be cured by the vaccine she created, and she finally succeeds in curing the virus. At the end of the film, it is shown that the remaining humans finally experience peaceful life once again. Each of them receives a vaccine injection capable of protecting them from the zombie virus. And with that, our zombie film concludes for today, and I'll see you with a new film.